Hey, if you like to shop on Amazon like most everybody, you can help Southgate Media Group out by going to southgatemediagroup.com and look at the top. There's an Amazon link. You can click that, log into your account, and a portion of everything you buy will help support the podcast of Southgate Media. So it's cheap, it's easy, and you're just doing the same thing that you would do anyways.
This is Jason J. Lewis, the voice of Superman on Justice League Action.
This is Mark Wade, writer of Superman Birthright.
And you're listening to The Krypton Report.
And you're listening to Krypton Report.
Up in the sky, look!
It's a bird!
It's a plane! It's the Krypton Report!
The All Things Kryptonian podcast, including Superman and Supergirl.
We discuss games, movies, cartoons, TV shows, and comics.
Find us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and Twitter. Welcome to the Krypton Report. I am Tyler. With me, as always, James, the Man of Steel. I'm the Superman of yesterday because you know what? Tomorrow is crazy. I'm frustrated because guess what, James? All my saved Krypton Report episodes, everything that we've recorded over the history of our stuff is on my external hard drive that has crashed, that I can't get to work. So, hello, good listeners. But we are back, and we are continuing our monthly special, because we're going to do this. We decided we're going to do it by a month because we have a special coming up of All-Star Superman. So for those who are like, wait a minute, where did that go? You guys were reading All-Star. What happened? We're back. We're going to cover some issues today, starting with issue 5, The Gospel According to Lex Luthor. James, are you ready to take this dive?
Yes, sir, I am.
Well, let's just jump into it.
Twisted mind of Lex Luthor.
I mean, we got some news to go over, I guess. Just quick, we don't have to dive into anything too tremendous here. But Black Adam started filming this week, so that movie actually is happening. I've always had hope, but we'll see because they hadn't got it in front of camera in forever. If you search for it, there's a great article from Variety with an interview with Chris Terrio about the process of writing Batman vs. Superman and then Justice League, and then what happened to him and how he kept his mouth shut when they released the theatrical Justice League. It's very eye-opening because I don't know if a lot of people know that there was a Batman vs. Superman script, and it was called Batman vs. Superman, and it was written by David Goyer, and that was like the first script that was going to be used for the film. And when Affleck signed on, he asked Terrio to come over to work the script. So Terrio, didn't completely start from scratch when writing BVS. And it's really interesting because I don't think people realize that. And it's a really great read how Terry talks about it. He didn't come up with the title; that was like a studio thing or something. And just that whole process of getting them written, and then why he signed on to Justice League, and it was a good read. And then I guess the biggest news is we got the first trailer for The Long Halloween Part 1. And the trailer looks awesome. What do you think?
Yeah, it does. It's in the same animation style as The Man of Tomorrow and the new Justice Society World War II.
I think that's the biggest thing worth pointing out, I think, to me, is the fact that it has that same animation style, because it just kind of reminds me of, are they building a new connective world that we don't know about yet with this animation style? We don't know. And
that would be pretty awesome.
Yes, it would.
It would. It worked really well for them before. over the last, how many years since Justice League War came out?
14 or 13?
12?
No,
13?
War came out 14. I think
13 or 14?
I think 14 because I think Flashpoint came out in 13. Without pulling out my phone to look at, because it was after.
That sounds about right, though.
Because it was after Man of Steel, and that's one thing I remember very clearly because I was living in North Carolina when it came out, and I'm pretty sure it came out in 14.
It worked really well for them for that, and you know it. I don't know. It benefits to have a connective universe. Solo films and team up films. I mean, it benefits for these IPs for Marvel, for DC. So with the similar animation style, I mean, heck, who knows? You know, maybe I think we've discussed this, or at least heard that maybe Barry coming back into World War II through time travel is him emerging from resetting time after the end of Darkseid War.
Yep.
You know, I mean
it's
possible it could be a new continuity changed because of that.
And it's also, I mean, it makes me think a little bit, just jumping back, is the way they got around the animation of trying to do Jim Lee animation for Hush was because they put it in continuity. So, you know, and with this, think about it like they can get around it because
Tim Sale's art.
Yeah. So it's like,
Yeah,
okay.
that would look a little. It probably would look a little rough in animation, you know, trying to match that style, you know, kind of the same way Frank Miller's would look rough in animation. You know, they had to complete it and you know, make it softer and work better for animation for The Dark Knight Returns.
Yep. So, but yeah. So I mean, anyways.
But I enjoyed them. I enjoyed them adapting stories in the past to be in continuity. So if they were to do, say, The Long Halloween, and it's, you know, 3 years into Batman's career, you know, like, and there's room to tell lots of stories with all these characters. I mean, we don't know yet if it's a connected continuity. The only thing we have, because we've only seen one movie, we haven't even seen the second one yet. The next one's not due out digitally till the end of the month, maybe sometime next week, and then a couple weeks later out on Blu-ray.
Yep.
So we don't even know yet. We're just speculating, but the animation style is the same, and I am excited to see Jensen Ackles back in the DC universe, playing Batman this time.
Yeah, it's interesting. So, it looks good. I mean, there's not a lot in the trailer to the actual story except for holidays. You know, except we just see things and it says, The Long Halloween Part 1, which means that yes, I will buy it. Yes, I will buy Part 2, and then James will turn around and buy the whole collection.
Probably.
Because you know they're going to release it as a
deluxe edition kind of a thing, like they did for The Dark Knight Returns Part 1 and 2. Thanks to you buying me that special edition hardcover Dark Knight Returns book that came with the Blu-ray. So I got that. I'm very appreciative of that. And I bought the Death and Return of Superman, which is the Death and Reign of Superman.
Yep.
Sir. Which that one is actually kind of cool because there's a different way they cut it in the middle for the story to transition into a new movie. It's not just fade to black and then the new movie starts. They actually did some editing in the middle there to kind of give you a little bit more of a smoother transition into the movie.
Which I like a lot because you don't actually really notice it. So, but all right, we will get into the All-Star story now. All right, are we ready? Are we ready?
I'm ready.
So the Gospel according to Lex. So this one starts where Lex Luthor is on trial. And basically, it's very interesting because it starts with Luthor on trial, and he basically gets sentenced guilty on all counts against crimes against humanity. The sentence is death in the electric chair. And he's taken to Stryker's Island, and Clark Kent is going to interview him. And we get this, that we talked about last time, like the bumbly Clark. And we see Lex working in his cell, building something. And it's fun because, we have Lex sitting there. Clark notices that his tool is about to basically electrocute him. And Clark does this funny, trips over it, knocks it away. And Lex Luthor points out, your clumsiness may have saved me from electrocution. So it's kind of interesting. And this is Lex and his pure, I think, arrogance of just how, he's in jail. He's about to, he's gonna die. Like Lex is, up to die, but he doesn't seem upset with anything.
Yeah. As we find out in this story, he's there of his own choice to be there. The experiments he does, the things he's created. He's tunneled. He already has a tunnel he can escape out of here. He does what he wants. He's got exercise equipment and he can basically almost come and go if he wanted to. He kind of feels like he's doing some good in the prison, creating civilization inside of the prison, just to show he can, kind of a thing.
Yep. And when he's sitting there working out, doing all this stuff, he's talking to Kent, and he's like, feel that, Kent, real muscle, not like his. It's easy to be strong when you just happen to have come from planet Krypton. This takes hard work. And Clark's like, impressive, but off topic. And then Lex makes the comment, so how's Superman these days? And then, like you said, he's walking around prison. He's showing that he's put everything in made society. And then he mentions the parasite.
Yeah.
And that is where we have our problem, is the parasite. Because the parasite does what, James?
Absorbs power. And right now, at this point in time, Clark is overloaded with power. He's not to the point where he's deteriorating and getting weaker. He's still flooded with power. So Parasite can actually just absorb it being near him. He doesn't even have to come into contact with him.
And that's what causes the prison, like, riot, outbreak, gas, everything possible that goes crazy. And even Luthor is still trying to say, it's my world, I can do this. Clark basically takes the tear gas. Someone tries to shoot Lex. He uses heat vision on the pipes. Uses his freeze breath. And then Lex kind of fights the parasite. And then, this is where you say, they make their way to Lex's special tunnel. And we meet Leopold. And Leopold is Lex's monkey, Jim, that's dressed in a Superman suit.
Dressed in a Superman costume.
And he's guarding...
He would have a monkey dressed like Superman.
Mm. And, he takes Clark down to a very almost River Styx looking... That's the kind of imagery and feel that I got from this. And Lex says, Kent, now he's died. Because Lex is smug. He's happy that, that he's basically killed Superman. And it's like he's going to his grave happy because he's done what no one else could. And it's like, if I gotta go, he's going down with it. And that's issue 8. It was cool. I liked it.
Lex is never gonna think straight, so issue 5.
Yeah, I liked it just because I like seeing Lex as the pure, arrogant person that he is.
Yeah, he's really smug in this. This is textbook Lex. Incredibly smug. He's there because he wants to be. He's supposed to be getting interviewed, but he seems like he's he wants to ask the questions. He wants a specific story told, and he's trying to feed Clark that story. Mm-hmm. Lucky for us, Clark's a good journalist, and he's trying to get another story.
Yes, he is. So we go to episode 6, or issue 6, Funeral in Small. Now, I like cover art with Clark and Crypto.
Yeah.
And then we get shots of the farm. And, Jonathan out there talking with Clark. That's a young Clark in Crypto. And it's kind of nice seeing them. We're big fans of Crypto in this house. And I like how he plays fetch. He just rips up the creature and throws it.
Right. Throws it into outer space.
And then a person shows up and says he's there to help for the harvest. And we come back, and Jonathan's like, hey, I got new farmhands, Clark. I'd like for you to meet them. And it is a little weird because the guy's like, Clark, my name is Calvin Elder. Yeah, I'd be like, okay. I'd be suspicious. And then a dude wrapped in bandages and a little midget. I know this is like pre-Superman Clark, but...
for the most part, yeah, pre-Superman Clark. Because he does have a suit and he's flying around. Were they talking to young Clark about the time travel? About the Legion?
Yeah.
Or were they talking to the older Clark?
Can't
remember now.
The young Clark, I believe. Because I like the scene we have here in the diner. Good old Pete Ross. And Lon. That best friend of Clark's who's supposed to know his secret, Pretty,
yeah.
Who you should know every time and everywhere.
Right. I do like that scene. Clark takes off. Clark takes off and he's acting ill. And she knows, and Pete knows that she knows, but like they're not telling Clark yet. Like she's waiting for Clark to tell her because she's his friend.
But Clark, you know, he's not there yet, but he should. But come on, Clark. But I mean, I get it. And we have Clark just chilling, and we see the farm hands, and all of a sudden, my real name is Cal Kent. I'm the Superman of 85,250. So all I'm thinking is they didn't get really inventive in those thousands of years of names. His name is just Cal Kent. You know?
Yeah, I mean it's
Not even like Cal Kent the third
it's
or
a
fourth.
it's a
You know, like
right. I was gonna say it's just a family name, you know. It's got a hell of a legacy.
maybe he's like the Phantom.
850,000 years in the future.
Maybe he's like the Phantom. You know? How everyone was named Kit Walker. And you know, they really didn't put the number as much in their name. They were just Kit Walker, but only they knew the number. Everyone's like, what are you talking about, Tyler? The Phantom, the old comic strip, also a film with Billy Zane. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a guy in the jungle who rides a horse with a purple suit on. Okay? Go watch it.
Yes, sir.
Slam evil. Enjoy. That's all I'm going to say. And then we find out the other one is the unknown Superman of 4,500 AD, the Superman of the Fifth Dimension, which just, all right, that's just Grant Morrison in love with the Fifth Dimension. They're after something called the Chronovore, and they're off to fight it. And then you see the Superman of Unknown. Stand back, Clark. This is the job for the Superman Squad. Clark. He says, I can take care of myself. Eat Vision's cow. Flies off. And, you know, so all this stuff's going on. Clark's actually causing more problems. But then we see Jonathan Kent out at the farm. And this is really cool because it kind of comes out of nowhere. And he's talking to the unknown Superman, and he says to him, like, this is the end of the line for me in the farm. And he says, he'll be okay, won't the boy? And he says, it all comes out right in the end. And you're like, okay, all right. But it's not exactly the unknown Superman, but it looks like it because it's another person in bandages. And so while they're fighting the Chronovore, you see Cal say, Jonathan Kent has suffered a heart attack. And then you see Ma go running to Jonathan. He's by a scarecrow. And then we see young Clark scream, Pa, not my pa, I can save him. And then we're at the funeral. And it's really interesting. Because we have Clark, you know, up there talking, and then we have the other Superman in the back. We have, you know, a guy who looks like he should be in the Doom Patrol sitting there. And I do like some of the lines, you know, that Clark says. He says, he taught me that the measure of a man lies not in what he says, but what he does. I agree with that. He taught me that a good heart is worth more than all the money in the bank. That. He showed me by example how to be tough and how to be kind and how to dream of a better world. we have Clark's in there on the porch. And Clark's, he's, he says, "I can't leave you alone, Ma." And she says, "You think your pa would want you to stay on the farm?" And he says, "What's the point of all the powers? What's the point of anything if I didn't even get to say goodbye?" And then we see that the big reveal is the Superman in bandages is actually Clark himself. He traveled back in time to be there.
Yeah. When I first read this issue, the first time I read this issue, and then since it has been a long time since I've read it, at first I was like, wait, I said, I know that one's Clark. And then when I read through it, I was like, oh, that's right. I was like, that's Clark now, the Clark that we're reading. That he gets to do that. He gets to go spend those 3 minutes with his father before the end, when he didn't get to before. Mm-hmm. So he had a chance to say goodbye.
And that was
finally.
That was pretty cool. And then in walks 3 more super people.
I mean, that's a fantastic thing, since Jonathan Kent being dying is such a big thing in Superman lore.
I honestly wish that this wasn't framed the way it is, like with the multiple Superman from the different eras. If it had just been one person, like one guy, like disguised or whatever, and it was actually Clark. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I think I would have liked it better, but I'm not trying to be too much of a pain in the butt here, but because I like this idea a lot. I like the idea a lot of the idea that Clark wasn't there to say goodbye to his dad. Because usually they always show he's right next to Jonathan when he dies.
Yeah. Well, when he has a heart attack, I mean, whether he's when he has a heart attack, it's just I lost my train of thought.
Oh no, you're fine. I was just gonna say, to me, it's usually he's depicted as being right there with his dad when he has a heart attack. And it's always interesting.
I mean, like, he always shows up. I mean, like, he's running down the driveway when he has the heart attack the first time in Superman 78. And then in Smallville, he's having the heart attack when he emerges from the barn, and they run up to him having the heart attack. So, yeah, he's there when he dies. And in this one, he's busy doing something. Oh, I remember what my train of thought was. The abruptness of a heart attack. Donner or this or Superman and Lois, or even Man of Steel, the way it story of how he died. It serviced the rest of the story of the movie. But the abruptness of when somebody dies like that, whether it's a heart attack or a tornado, you never get that closure. So at least you grieve and you move on. But sometimes people don't get to say goodbye and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a really nice thing to have made in this issue, being one of the last things he's able to do in his life.
So, I do like. It's just I wish I just. That's all I'm saying before somebody tries to yell at. It.
Right.
Like.
So we get the 3 Supermen you were talking about, or the three other Kryptonians who emerge, and which of my descendants are you? That's actually really funny because it's him. He doesn't know that, and he doesn't reveal that.
it is interesting. Like, it's that Grant Morrison writing where you're just like, this is so over my head right now. I think I understand what's going on.
Right.
You're just kind of like looking at yourself like, yeah, I get it. You don't want to
Yeah.
admit that you don't get it. But you're like,
Well, it's kind of crazy that young Clark in this story, whose pa just died, and Clark, who is the unknown Superman, who got to say goodbye to his dad, are the same person. And then you got Super Prime here, this gold Superman, who is the same person, the same Clark, but from the far future. Isn't he from DC 1 Million or something? I haven't read that.
I think so, but then it just kind of baffles my mind at the same time because the whole point of this is that Superman's dying in All-Star Superman. So it's just kind of like, all right, but aren't we experiencing his death? But now he's not.
Well, at this moment, this is, I'm speaking from external knowledge on that. At this moment, he doesn't know that that's him, and they don't reveal that that's him or anything. So, as this story is being told, these are his final days. It's not revealed in this story or in All-Star Superman until later on that the Golden Superman is the same Superman from All-Star Superman, the one who entered the sun.
Heavy, man.
Right. Well, yeah, it's always heavy when you talk Grant Morrison, especially if you go like I got away from the book we're talking about. I started talking about more of, like I said, that external knowledge of stories beyond this.
I remember I just trying to explain it one time to Jania, like about how like I heard Grant Morrison explain fifth dimensional stuff, and I'm like, yep, that's how the man thinks at all times. I'm
Right.
like, just listen to him talk. And you're like, wow, either like you're really really smart or you're. But I like this one. I mean, I can't really complain. It was interesting because, it's once again, we are in, what do you call it? A Elseworlds Tales that we forget that we're in it.
Right.
So it's like, oh, Jonathan is alive and now he's dead. Okay. All right.
Right. This is a good issue. A lot of reasons it's a good issue, and I think it's really good, and it stands out because you don't even realize until the final almost the final page, the second to last page, that this Superman, because the story, it starts in the past and it exists in the past. So you're like, why does this story jump to the past? Well, you find out that it maybe what's happening is taking place in the past, but it's taking place presently for the Superman that we are continuing to follow for the rest of this, since the start of All-Star.
Yep.
So which is really cool that you get that reveal in the second to last page, because it could throw you off.
And it kind of does. Like, it's jarring at first because you're like, wait, huh? Because like it's like, what do you call it? It's almost like anthological in the sense of like each chapter is the next chapter, but like it connects, but it's not like when you're kind of reading the monthly books where, you read the book and then the next month's issue you pick up and you're like, okay, this is continuing. Like it's continuing, but there's gaps in time. So moving.
Yeah, it's not Man of Steel into BVS. It takes place on Black Zero, and that BVS into Justice League, where you pick up on the death of Superman, like total overlap.
Mm-hmm. So now we're in episode 7, Being Bizarro. And I'm just flat out say it. I hate reading Bizarro. Like, when it comes to Bizarro, I just like Bizarro being the failed clone. Like, I don't need Bizarro World. So like these next 2 chapters, I'm just like, you can count out. Like, I don't get really heavily into Bizarro. I like the idea of Bizarro just being this messed up clone, failed experiment type Superman. Because then you can do some good stories where he's like kind of good, or bad.
Yeah. Well, like the Forever Evil, when Bizarro came out in the New 52, he was B0, and that's how they came up with Bizarro, and he was a failed clone. And the stories involving him, especially in Forever Evil, was really good too.
And that works for me, like I just don't like the Bizarro we're about to get.
Right. And I heard, what was it, was it the Rebirth Red Hood and the Outlaws, where it was Red Hood and Bizarro and Artemis? I heard that was very good, and I haven't gotten to read it yet. At least the first, I'm not sure, but number of issues, a good decent number of issues. I heard the story was really good for a while, or the book was really good for a while.
So all that to just kind of preface this next chapter, you can kind of take the lead on, because the best part for me is just seeing Superman with Crypto. I mean, not Crypto, jeez. Superman fighting, just the artwork of him in space. But other than that, nope. So, and go, James.
And go. So, well, I mean, I'm kind of in the same boat as you, pain in the butt to read Bizarro, which is worst in the next issue. So, thankful there. It is a lot worse in the next issue. But in this issue, the Dr. Quintum, their project and their sensors, they're trying to monitor the underverse and explore the underverse, and some life form, kind of like a square planet, basically, emerges from the underverse, and we know that the square Earth is Bizarro world. We've seen that in comics and things. And Superman is out past Jupiter releasing his Sun Eater, as he's getting too big for the zoo at the fortress. And on his way back past Mars, he gets attacked by these putties, like the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers putties, yeah. And he gets attacked by them, and the one that is out front that gets him on the next page transforms. It's kind of him, but off colors and stuff. And then we have what seem to be like small meteorites, shooting stars, kind of crashing to Earth, and it's all of these Bizarro, these putties, and the planet. They're having the Daily Planet. They're having a celebration. There's Perry up there, Lombard, Jimmy. Who's this woman? What they call her? What they say her name was? Amanda?
I think so.
I think that's what they said her name was.
I'm still just happy about
it. Well, one emerges from Jimmy sees what's going on outside. He's trying to get everybody's attention. Everybody's partying, so they're not paying attention. And one of these Bizarros exit the elevator and attack. Her name is Allie. I was close. But but she touches her, and it mimics her. She becomes a Bizarro version of herself, and it kind of like destabilizes Allie or something. Like she becomes, or it infects her,
Yeah.
and she becomes a Bizarro. And Lombard throws her out the window.
Yeah, Lombard is he's awesome. Like I really hate that like he was in Man of Steel and then like not in BVS, or like he hasn't been in like anything else. You know, like we've had like he wasn't in Lois and Clark. He wasn't in he's not on Superman Lois. You know, there wasn't even some sort of Lombard type tease in Smallville. You know, and it's just like, man.
Yeah.
Like
No, the only Lombard we've ever gotten really is animation besides the Man of Steel. He's in Superman Unbound. He's in The Death of Superman.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about all we get. But he pushes her out the window before she infects somebody else, and he's immune to it. He didn't become infected. He didn't get changed into a Bizarro. But the Bizarros are trashing the party. They're trashing a lot of the Earth, and there's Bizarro. Superman crashes to Earth.
Yep. And then, I mean, I do like this part here where the boy's stuck and Superman picks up and says, "Relax, ma'am, he's safe with me." Like, that's straight up Superman. So that to me is awesome. He gets hit, and then he says to Bizarro, "Try out one of my new powers." And I feel like really just like this is one of those stories that I will just look at. I don't need to read the dialogue, I just watch this.
You really can, yeah.
Because I don't understand the dialogue. I have to use way too much brain power.
Especially come the next issue. It's funny how Jimmy's watch is very versatile. He's able to hack into the blimp, the blimp network, so he could impress a girl by riding on the blimp or flying her out of there, wherever they may be.
Everything's about impressing a girl. Okay?
Yeah.
So this is why they talk about like why men, when they get married, that they slow down and don't do as much stuff. We spend our entire life prepping to impress a girl. Like everything's all about, you know, getting the girl to notice you, blah, 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 you know, and then all of a sudden it's like, okay, I got it. Now what?
Right.
You know, like,
yeah. You know, it's easy to get to that point where everything's comfortable and you're taking each other for granted. But, you know, being mindful of that type of stuff, you know, trying to show each other that you always care, you know? That's what it becomes about.
Yeah, it's just fun to joke about because I mean, think about it.
is.
So much is like, yeah, I'm working out all the time so this girl, like, or, you know, I want to impress her. I've done this. And then it's like your whole
This is
mindset.
helpful advice.
Yeah, your whole mindset is built around the idea of impressing and attracting women. And then all of a sudden you acquire your lady and you're like, okay. You know, it's just like,
Right.
What do I do now, guys? You know, like,
You're in uncharted territory.
yeah.
I don't know.
So, good advice from James Tyler here at the Krypton Report.
Life lessons from the Krypton Report.
You're wondering what's going on? Just be like, hey, God knows what's up.
Absolutely. Superman lays into Bizarro, like, I think he decks him and sends him all the way into outer space.
Yeah, he does.
Like, his jaw is all wide open, like his jaw just got separated. His tooth is flying through space. Like, yeah, Superman laid into him real good.
And I'm kind of sad for Bizarro in some ways. I'm like, hey, poor guy. But, at the same time, I'm also like, sorry.
Yeah.
So,
Superman, everybody at the planet escapes in the blimp, and Superman takes the blimp to, I'm not sure where, but somewhere up high, somewhere cold. Which Lois is standing out in a dress that barely covers.
of course she is.
Slid all the way up to the hip, and
I mean, how else is Superman? He's like, look, hey, guys, I'll save the day, okay? But Lois, yeah, you got it.
right. They say Lombard is immune, and he X-ray visions him, and he sees that his quote-unquote performance pills in his bloodstream are what has made him immune. He doesn't know if he would recommend those to everybody, though.
No. I would not. I'd be like, you know what, Lombard, you just okay. You okay? All right, buddy. But yeah, Superman leaves him in this cold place, and he flies off and heads to the square planet, and Superman lands on the square planet with Bizarro, and they meet Zimbaro. So that's 7, which is readable. Now, episode 8, us do opposite. I'm going to sum this one up, okay? Basically what I get is there's a Bizarro clone that is a reject Bizarro, which
did you say anything about how he hit the planet?
Yeah,
like
he flew into
he
it.
flies off. He flew off to the planet. He hits the planet so hard that he hurts the planet, which is the single organism responsible for all the Bizarros, and the planet starts to retreat back into the underverse.
Oh, okay. Somehow I didn't get that. Maybe because I was really having trouble following the story. Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Because I get he went to the planet. My bad, guys.
No, that's what happened. That's what the page is here, where he flies to the planet so fast, and then you see the mountain in the distance, and then he hits the mountain and causes this great big explosion, and all the Bizarros collapse, and then the planet is gone, and he's on the planet, and he says it's burrowing. Your world's burrowing into the cosmic sink beneath our universe.
That's why everyone should just have their life. Everybody needs change. Okay, everybody out there.
Zibaro. You were talking about Zibaro.
Yes, not to be confused with Sbarro, the pizza place. But basically, what I get from this is Zibaro is basically a Bizarro clone that basically is normal. So he's basically living the life of being in hell, being the only person who has some sort of intelligence in a world full of Bizarros.
Yeah, because all of Bizarro, they speak backwards. Die am good, and no down sinkhole, go to under place. No into cold us go, no freezing good dark go. It makes your head hurt when you try and, because everything's the opposite.
Yes. Makes my head hurt sitting here talking to you, trying to talk about it.
And then Zibaro, he talks normally. So but to him, the one in every 5 billion copies that's flawed, to him that's normal. but he can't communicate with everybody backwards.
Mm-hmm. So, like we said, his life horrible. And, it's in the artwork too, because it looks like, if you really look at the artwork of him, when he first shows up, he doesn't look as bad. But then as the story goes, like, he looks like he's decomposing more, or it could just be the way it's drawn, just the art style. Because it does look like he starts to kind of fall apart and lose it. Meanwhile, Superman's starting to lose his powers. Zabaro's talking about there's only room on the rocket for one. And like all the Bizarros want Zabaro to leave, but they put Superman on the rocket.
Yeah. There's a Bizarro Jor-El. He has a plan. He has plans for a rocket. Which is interesting. They call him Le Rouge Jor-El backwards.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't like this. I'll be honest. Like, people probably be all mad at me about it, but I just don't like it.
Bizarro, and especially Bizarro World, is not for everybody. It's tough to read. I've read this before, so I knew the basis of the story. So when it was all this Bizarro talk, I just really skimmed through it, and I read what Clark was saying. I only read Superman for the most part. I read the page with the Bizarro Justice League, and Green Lantern's got a nose ring. That's his ring, and the Flash is super slow, and his top speed is 2 inches per hour. Yeah.
Even the Turtles like, hurry up, let's go. And then I did read the last page with Dr. Quinn and Lois, where they're like, and he says, the Bizarro Earth has gone beyond our range of instruments, down into the underverse through the cold layers. Superman saved us all, but he's gone. I'm sorry, Miss Lane. I know you were close. And that's the end of episode 8. But I look forward to the next one.
Before we end, there's a Dr. Quintum and Lois scene in the middle, where he's discussing the underverse and the planet going back and Superman being on there. And in it, at the end of this 2-page bit of story here, he said, but during a fine scan of our solar probe data, we found something else disturbing. What do you mean? Right there, hiding in the sun. Wherever he is, I hope he finds a way back. I'd say this looks like a job for Superman. So this here in the middle of the sun, something that their sensors picked up, is seeding for what happens later in the series, which we don't get too much of because, like you said, it's very much like an anthology. All 12 stories. There's an overarching through line, but each story sometimes is just its own thing. Each one is very much its own story. It's honestly these 2 issues with the overlap of Bizarro World is kind of like the first time Superman is in the same place in 2 issues.
Yeah.
So like this right here, it is different. But yeah, it does give us seeds for something later on, closer to the end.
But that is where we leave it. And I'm okay. Good.
Yeah.
We are good.
It will be better to go to the next, the following issues.
And I haven't read this one yet because I didn't want to read too far ahead. I wanted to read enough. But man, when I was reading this section, I was just like, oh, maybe we messed up.
Well, the first two issues this episode, issues 5 and 6, I really like them. 5, obviously a good issue, kind of part of why they put that story into the animated movie when we go talk about that. And issue 6 being having so much heart, even though, dealing with the time travel and stuff like that. It's a very, very touching issue. It's definitely the next two issues where we get that lull.
And it sucks because, everyone talks about this being such a great landmark Superman story. And to me, there's things in it that I like, but overall, I'm not that in love with it. It's one that I read, and I was like, okay, and then years later, I was like, man, I haven't read that in a while. And I hear people, just kept talking. I was like, and I just bought it. I was like, okay, just buy it. It's supposed to be such a great Superman story. It'll be in my collection. I'll have it. And I like I love the artwork, and I respect Grant Morrison for what he does and what he's writing and everything. But there's parts to it that I like, but all in all, there hasn't been anything in there that's really, I felt like, grabbed me, and I've been like, yes, this is what I'm connecting with.
So far in this run, I think up to this point, we've had more hits than misses. I mean, we got 6 issues out of, we got 6 issues here, 5 issues, depending on how you feel about issue 4 with Jimmy and becoming Doomsday, in my opinion. But I think issue, so you got 5 or 6 hits out of 8 issues,
I mean, you're not wrong. But what do you think, good listeners? Why don't you hit us back on our social media at Krypton Report on Twitter, Facebook, you can find us, or send us the email at kryptonreport@gmail.com. Let us know what your thoughts are on All-Star Superman, what we've talked about so far. And just remember, I'm Tyler, and this is James. James is awesome, and everyone needs the James. Good night, everybody.
I am Connor from the House of L.
And I am Ray from the House of Zod.
We are 2 of the many, many survivors of Krypton's destruction, and we have made our home in Australia, and dare I say, have become Australians, for better or worse. But we have also decided to read Superman comics, read Superman books, watch Superman shows, cartoons, movies, basically everything Superman, and from an Australian perspective as well. Whether you're a seasoned fan, like me,
or whether you are coming in fresh, wide-eyed and wanting to learn more like me, then this podcast is for you. Join us for our bi-weekly adventures available on all good podcast catchers.
So just search for Last Sons of Krypton, a Superman podcast. We'll be coming to you from Australia or some cosmic dimension, wherever we are, maybe. Up, and away.
Look up in the sky.
Look up in the sky.
Look in the sky.